Okay, Kevin, page 6.
The special ed secretary, the 3.01% increase. Is that giving the 3% cost of living increase? Is that?
Is that a proposed?
Yes.
So that's included, because I'm seeing, as we go through here, I'm seeing that there's cost of living embedded in many of these, so
Well,
3%.
At the last meeting, you had asked how it compared to other districts, and that's comparable to other districts. And I wanted to get you a number closer to where you're gonna end up for comparison purposes. So I put the 3% in there as a marker.
So let's table that conversation to the end,
Okay.
because there's, I think, 9 positions that affects. Anything else on page 6?
Yes. Okay, so we took care of that special ed substitute, we decreased that line, right, by 2,000 from the last time, which is great. And then, there's something else, okay, the health insurance increase again.
I have a question on that health insurance.
Yeah, okay.
Health insurance on the notes, what's that note say?
9.3.
9.3, and what's the increase?
Cost is
18.
double. So,
It would be based on staffing changes. So like I said, you did have a decrease up on the salary line, so whoever that new person came in and replaced could be at a higher rate than whoever she did replace.
a different, so if somebody had a buyout,
Yep,
then somebody
and
else
that
takes the
also
plan.
includes all of your paraprofessionals, so if anybody there had changed. It's one of those things where I keep an eye on that too, as we go through the budget process. I compare our health insurance bill to what we currently have on staff. And because sometimes you have somebody who has a child that is 26 years old and they age out, so all of a sudden they're going from a family to a person, two-person. You know, on the other hand, you have somebody that's going to be getting married, so now they're going from a single or a buyout to a two-person. So those numbers will fluctuate too, because I'll be changing those to more accurately reflect.
So the overall costs, or the plan costs are about 9.3, but depending on the plan,
Correct.
that total number changes.
Right. So I mean, you have to think you have about 28 people in the special ed section.
Yeah, you
So-
only need 1 or 2 to
and-
change.
You know what else it is? We added a para-educator. We added a paraprofessional, so we
That makes
probably
more sense.
budgeted for that as well.
That's up on the top of the line.
Because you say based on current, so we added the person after the budget was developed.
Correct, so,
Mhm.
because if you look at your para-education expenses, that's up
Okay.
$15,000 as well. So we were informed that we were gonna need a new para in that one.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Page 7.
So we cut down the student evaluations. We had it 2,000 at our last meeting, and now it's down to 0.
Yes, because
So-
Scott said we could take that out of the IDEA
Okay.
grant.
And then there was a change, okay, the co-brown change. So that increased, do we have the percentage there, what it is? I don't see the percentage, what the cost is per, oh, okay. Okay, the differential is
67.
and what increase is that, what's the percentage again?
I don't know what, the special ed percentage is a different percentage.
I think it was 2.99 if I remember right.
It's 2.89 for the regular
Right,
education.
I
For
thought it
the
was
special
2.99.
education, I wanna say was more like 4.57.
I thought it was more.
Was it that much?
2.99 is from last year, that was the increase from last year.
We got an email.
Right, and that's why I just was trying to remember what it was, the increase.
Yeah, I think the special ed rate was about 4%.
Anything else, page 7? Page 8. Allison, the only thing I noticed, this is the first time the term Common Core pops up, so just so that we have it on record, no dispelled, so we now have a new government coming in. I would just like to be able to tell people that while we do things that are based on Common Core themes, if all of a sudden that magic buzz term goes away, we aren't messing up our curriculum. So we aren't buying anything that's exactly one thing. And if that term goes away, all of a sudden.
Those are still gonna be useful items.
And that's, thank you, that's what I wanted to say.
But those standards may change, but they're not gonna go away.
The tools are gonna be fine.
Right.
Perfect.
Has our special ed population, we don't have Strafford, our special ed population increased or decreased over the last year, since what we have now as opposed to last year?
I would say consistent,
It's consistent.
Big flatline.
give or take one or two depending on the day, but consistent.
Not
Is
drastic
that-
enough to know.
Would that be the same with the high school, or we're not sure?
I would agree with that, only because I did, when I go to do work on the revenue information, your catastrophic aid, that's dependent on your special education placements and your transportation. So last year, we didn't budget any money for that, this year, we're not budgeting any money for that. As well as bringing down your Medicaid reimbursements, because of that special education kind of like going, like, we're not receiving as much because you have less. But I think this year, I can't say that it's going down again because we do have that additional one-on-one pair that we're budgeting for. So I would say it's kind of evening out.
Page 9, that's pretty much the whole bunch of stipend, but I just, again, want to note to the board that all of those are no more than amounts. So those are not mandatory for the CBA, that's just, in the budget is the maximum amount that is shown on the list. Page 10, do we have a true warrant officer?
We do not. We've had that posted, I don't believe we've had any.
I would take that out.
No, when we went past, I saw it again, and I know we had talked about when our past left, and we were gonna talk to maybe the department, police department, or somebody, but, so right now, we don't have one of those.
Correct.
Okay.
But if you need anything researched, we would love to do it. We love driving by people's houses.
I was gonna say, you wanna make that a bit job? Page 11,
Oh, I had a question, like Scott is not here, but I asked him the last time to check with Carolyn, with our athletic director, to make sure with the athletic supplies, we were gonna inventory, and make sure that she was okay with that number. I don't know if we did or not, do you know, Allison? You don't know, okay.
page 11, the guidance salaries, is that due to staffing, that drop?
Yeah,
Okay.
we had a big swing from last year.
Yep.
And Debbie, I think Scott did check on that because I went over all of my notes from the last meeting with him, Mr. Rooming, Bob, trying to make sure we were all on the same page and everything was updated. And so he told me that it was good to go and it should be okay. But I'll double check with him.
And I did
And
check.
I know Allison will too, because I know she was making.
Thank you. And I noticed that you did put those notes on.
Anything else on 11? 12? The famous 1 million% increase.
Disheartening.
Oh, I know what that is.
Yeah, we asked Mr. Rooney about that, based on student needs. 13?
Physical therapy jumped a little bit on that. On the bottom two.
Yep. Yeah,
Just have two.
I believe that's all student needs stuff when we asked last time.
Excuse me.
The
On the
note,
note, on the next page, it says, service are contracted through the SLC and are generally provided to students with severe physical disabilities. So I'm assuming you have one student that we possibly got this year that they're budgeting for next year, but we can double check with them.
But we had money in it last year, did we have one last year?
I'll double check with Scott.
Yeah, I think we asked Scott that, and he said it was based on student.
Yeah, I'm sure it is, but I'll double check it out.
Is it
Really hard.
different plan?
It's really hard to be so confidential when the numbers are so small in that
Right.
corporation.
Okay, we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anything on 13? I know we talked about the increases last time. Page 14. So the curriculum development revision, that whole section there, is that curriculum team that you and Scott have been working with for a couple of years?
I imagine that's part of it.
Okay,
I think this is a piece where he also has, for
Yeah, but-
example, Kim Boothroyd is coming in for professional development. Also, we have opportunity for teachers to work with summer sound, that's for the summer. So it's multiple areas pulled from that line.
Yeah, I think the line that you're talking about, Brian, is, I believe he used a lot of rate money for that didn't come out of the budget. This particular is for, like Allison was talking about, maybe stipends for teachers to do curriculum work and professional development opportunities.
well, so the curriculum development revision, what just keyed me in is the line that says Strafford Schools currently working on curriculum and instruction in math, literacy, technology, science with a focus, blah, blah. So again, we've had people come to me before saying, what exactly is a curriculum with there? So I just wanted to say, okay, is this that team that he was putting together?
I don't know where he drew the stipends for that team, but the team would be supporting this.
Okay,
It's not directly taken from that.
because then down,
Oh, yes.
and even further down where it says, like 2/3 of the way down, staff development stipend, raising it $700. I was trying to figure out what stipend is that talking about? And why are we increasing it? I know it's not a lot of money, I'm just trying to figure out where that, I don't know what a staff development stipend is.
I think the staff development stipend is the,
Oh, I know what that is.
I think that's the stipend for the teacher and the paraprofessional who oversee the professional development plans
Yes.
for all of the
Yes.
professional
Is the
staff.
para included in that figure?
I thought
I
that's,
believe it is.
Yes.
well, no, because below that is the paradevelopment stipend, and it says it's a CBA
Oh.
position for
Yeah.
staff development.
Okay, so the staff development one is for the teachers and the development one under that is for the paraprofessionals.
So we need to probably put a note there,
Well,
if
what-
that's true.
Well, why is it going up $700 next year?
Just a
Mm.
shadow, I have a shadow in that of an idea, fairly note taker. And I don't know if that was from last year, but I spoke to the districts, the staff development committee, that may be part of it. I don't know if that was something that was done in the past.
Well, I'm also looking at the actuals, and in the past, it's been $1,700
Yeah.
for the actuals.
Right, so it dropped this year, but then went back up. I'm just trying to, that's what, again, it's not a
So
lot of money.
I'm
I
wondering
just
if
wanna-
somebody made a mistake last year when they entered that number, and if it should be
Okay.
$1,700. That's the only thing I can think of, but I can
Yeah.
double check with Scott.
It probably would be in the CBA right now, because that is a CBA stipend. I'm
Right.
pretty sure about that.
And this is
We
funny,
have
because
the
I
CBA
remember
with us.
looking this line up last year to find out exactly who
Yeah.
that was.
Yeah.
Like I went through all the payroll records, so.
We'll match it up to the
Note
senior.
takers,
Yeah.
to make sure it's, I think it would come out.
There
Just
you
when
go.
you see a set, I know it's only $700, but you've got 70%.
Yeah.
Because you're right.
Voters tend to key in on big numbers, like 1 million %.
I'm
Yep,
writing
it's
it down now.
1,700, we see it here to CBA,
Okay.
so it probably should be noted, and that's for professional staff. Did
So
you
that's
say
the
anything about
CBA
that?
professional.
Staff development,
Yeah,
there's nothing new.
paraprofessional is
Yeah.
1,000,
Yep.
yeah, so they're both CBA
I
driven.
want all the paperwork to agree.
Yeah,
Okay. Luckily, the total's correct, it's just a note.
That's a good catch. The curriculum development, I think that was something that we should question. I know that when that was brought to us, if that's the stipend that was brought to us, I thought we approved it for a 1 year. Do you remember that? Does anyone remember? We approved it for 1 year, and then at one point we were thinking it was gonna come out of a REAP grant, maybe it was the year before it was from a REAP grant. I think we should
We need some clarification on
find
that.
out more about that, because you can look back and see that we hadn't had it until this past year.
Right,
I
so
really,
is
I don't
that,
think it is the stipends, especially where he puts in here Strafford School is working at, it's during professional growth activities throughout each school year, staff on teacher workshop days, specialized trainings. So I don't tend to think that that's the
That was
stipend.
speakers?
Yeah, that kind of stuff.
no,
That would be workshops.
No, that's, we have a bunch of,
No,
well, let's add.
Yeah.
Because when he built those team leaders and all that stuff, there
Yes.
was an initial
We had
cost
several
out.
of those things.
But the intent of the board, if I remember at the time, was not to make that a yearly
Right,
amount.
this is definitely not teen leaders.
But is it the summer curriculum groups? Remember we approved those
I don't
a
believe
couple of
it is.
summers?
No, because that's one
No,
below.
'cause that's right
Oh,
below
okay,
it.
so that's another one
But
that
that's,
keeps going up.
well, that's the number we approved. I believe.
Okay.
That's the current of this year. All right, we can ask.
Okay.
That's why we don't have this on. Band concert nights. Page 15.
You getting all this?
I did notice, which I think we had questions about that tuition for support staff, and that's been removed. This is on page 15, so that's been removed. Remember we discussed that?
Yeah, so I wanna go back up to one. So there's $26,000 that we hold every year, that we aren't coming anywhere near it. I know we've talked about it and handed it out, but we never voted. So I would like to make a motion that we reduce that to $13,000. The money's gonna be there, I understand it's a CBA position, but we aren't using it. We haven't cleared $4,000 in many years. And that means we're holding $22,000 of taxpayers' money.
All right, I'll second it for discussion.
So cutting it to 13 would have it. I don't see us having any issue. First of all, I don't think we'll ever get anywhere near that number. And even if we did, I don't think we would have any problem finding that money at the end of the year if we did go over or that. That's 3 times what they're coming close to.
Can I ask Allison a question? Allison, do you know if we have any people, any staff members right now that are currently like working on their masters or anything?
I know of at least one.
So half of our staff is at the highest step the school achieves. They are not, if they don't have a master's now, they're not gonna get it. We have brought in a couple of younger staff members, but we're still not getting anywhere close. And it just bothers me that we're asking taxpayers for money. I know we give it back to them, but we're taking, it's not a lot of money, but it's budget management in my eyes. We shouldn't be asking for money we don't use. My opinion.
I'm trying to say something without saying someone's name. If we, say we had somebody that was still finishing their master's, recent hire, would we have to pay for that?
I think we have
If they-
contracts.
If they're under contract and they're taking a course, then we're contractually obligated to pay for that course.
Do we have that situation right now? Are we involved in that situation right now, with any recent hires?
Well, I'm not sure what you're getting at, but if you're under
Hired
contract,
somebody last week.
whether
or
you're,
last
whether
week.
you're starting a master's, whether you're finishing a master's,
Mhm.
whether you're, if you're under contract and you're taking the course, then we're contractually obligated to pay for it, or as far as the
A
CBA.
certain number of courses, yeah, so we're not gonna change this number. This number is contractually obligated, $26,000. I'm just saying that we shouldn't be holding back a ton of money that we're not getting anywhere near using.
I don't see $13,000 as a ton of money. I mean, it covers us if CBA was to use those courses within a year, because it doesn't mean they have to use them for just a master's. They could use it for another program, CAGs or beyond that. Also, I'm not sure if our staff development agreement doesn't say they don't have to take the course every 3 years, that's what it used to be. I don't know when that changed.
I thought when we discussed this last time, I thought it was something about to maintain certification they have to take.
That's what I meant, the staff, yeah, the staff development plan. I'm not looking at the CBA as much as I am looking at the staff development plan. I'd like to hold off on that just until we get the certification.
Yeah, I don't believe that professional development plans say there's any mandate for taking the course.
They used to be, I don't know what it was.
They are mandated to get either X number of hours
Yeah.
or goal fulfillment from the plan, so that's certainly
For
mandated.
certification.
Right, but as far as the CBA covered contractually, it doesn't remove your contractual obligation for the CBA to reduce it to $13,000. Obviously, if more teachers took it, then you'd have to find that out for $13,000.
I don't mind turning it back in, it's only $13,000. Turn it back in, it's not something that's absorbent. I know that you want to skinny it as much as you can, but I don't want to take a chance. I'm getting red if you have to, because of course, it's beyond massive.
Any other discussion? Carol, were you here when I made the motion? I can't remember when you just came in. Were you here when I made the motion? Or to reduce that number?
Yes.
Okay. Just want to make sure we didn't.
No, I heard it.
I mean, I agree with what you're saying as far as it's not being used and we're sort of holding accounts money when it's not being used. On the other hand, if we do have younger people who are finishing their masters, we may need money. I mean, could we cut it to 20 where we're compromising? Okay.
So anyway, all in favor of reducing it to 13,000, signify by saying, raising it. Opposed? Abstaining? I haven't seen them all. I haven't
All
seen
right,
them there.
no, I like,
You have to make it, you have to go one way or the other.
okay, I'm gonna make a motion to.
No.
No.
We have to vote, you have,
Oh, I
did you
just,
vote?
I voted no.
So no, okay, so that fails 3-2. Okay,
I'm gonna make a motion to reduce that line to $20,000, which is more than enough to cover classes that we need to.
I'll second it for vote, since I want to reduce it. Any further discussion?
I'll go with the 20.
All in favor, reduce to 20? No, then aye. Opposed? Passes 4-1. So that be notated.
Yep.
Scott, since you came back,
Yeah.
and Allison was under the gun for about the 20.
Sorry, Allison.
Can you jump to page 31 or page 14 of the budget?
Yeah,
Where it starts improvement instruction?
yeah.
So we had some questions on what the curriculum development revision $3,000 is being used for.
Well, we really focused on using the summer curriculum line mostly.
So that's, yeah, right, so that's the
So-
4,000 below.
Correct. And so, I mean, believe me, there's some things we could certainly use the $3,000 for around curriculum development revision, just around PCL or PLC groups that we're doing. When we ask teachers to lead those groups, we ask them to do additional work to prepare for them, and then they're here meeting the groups prior to the start of the contractual day or past the time to meet, past the time at the end of the day to help lead those groups, because really we don't have time built in for those kinds of groups otherwise. We have some common planning time, we have data team times, and some, but those typically are already taken up with specific tasks. So
So is this the, so we're trying to remember where you were going. So we came up with $1,000, maybe $1,000 each to initially kick something off. And then you thought something was gonna be funded with REAP after that. Are we talking about the same thing, the grant money? That's,
Well,
we're kind of lost as to
we've been
what we're
using
talking about.
Yeah, yes, I think, you know, you're talking about the summer curriculum work that we did with the PLC group, in which we were looking to use most of the summer curriculum line that's budgeted there for 4,000. And then, excuse me, because we had additional people who wanted to be a part of that group, we were going to use some REAP monies to fund the rest. But you can see we used 2,300 of the summer curriculum line, at this point at least. We had some people who couldn't make all the meetings during the summer, so we ended up spending a little bit less from that line than anticipated when we first proposed that. So again, we think about curriculum development and revision, think about, for instance, the work that we're doing with Kim Boothroyd right now is through Title IIA monies. But if we wanted to do some additional consultation, you know, if we wanted, for instance, do a refresh on math and focus, and you think about someone like Mahesh Sharma, who is very, very good, but very, very expensive, who I know has previously been all over the state, has been all over the region, with that program.
Wouldn't that come out of the 13,500 we have for teachers?
Those are for teachers to go and sign up for workshops or conferences.
I thought we also used that to have people come in to do teacher workshops.
I haven't used that line for that purpose.
It's staff development, yeah.
The 13.5, I've used it for.
13.5 is on
I've
the
used it.
contract,
Right,
it specifies that.
Right.
that's that, I mean, we should be zeroing that out before anything else is used.
I
I mean,
guess,
yeah,
Scott, I guess my question is, you know, since you've come up with a number and it almost seems random, I hate to say that, I wish we had a proposal, like say, okay, I'm going to propose, like, I'm gonna have something for specific things, you know what I mean? Like, I don't feel like we really understand, you're giving us what possibilities, but not what the plan, you know what I mean?
yeah, I know what you mean. I don't know, if you guys can, I guess, look at what you want to do with that line.
Well, I'm just,
But-
again, I'm kind of confused with what it is, so,
It's,
you know, not for nothing, but we have a school full of salaried employees. And in any other work that I've ever done, I mean, I'm asked all the time to take part in teams or plans or projects or something, and I don't get an individual stipend every time. And it just seems like every single thing that's done here, that doesn't include 5.5 hours of teaching time, is another stipend. And then that's how the budget gets huge. And I'm just trying to figure out, so we have 3,000 for staff development and revision, and then right under it is 4,000 for summer curriculum, and below that is staff development stipend, then teacher, I mean, we get this money flowing around, and I guess what the board's trying to figure out, where's it going? Because I know we had a one-time expenditure that you came to us and said, hey, well, like this amount of money can be spent, and we said, okay. And then I know somebody said, well, is this gonna be a continuing budget line? And I thought the call was, well, no, we're gonna try to get grant money to fund it, and once it's up and running, we don't need to keep coming and asking for money. And again, I just don't know what that means.
well, again, I think it comes down to talking about comprehensive, you know, in-house professional development and curriculum planning. And that's a huge task. So I've made inroads on a number of fronts to do that in the time that I've been here in different ways. The most ambitious thing that we've done is really looking at the curriculum piece and the writer's workshop work, consultation that we've been doing through Kim Boothroyd. Part of what kicked that work off with Kim this year was the group that met this summer to really look at the curriculum development piece, unwrapping standards and so on. And the reality is that this curriculum development revision line, this first one that's on this page, is underutilized, obviously, and it is. So much of a lot of what we have done this year and in prior years is through Title IIA, which is for professional development. That's what it's for. Grant money's offered through, it's really through the federal government, but filtered through the DOE here in New Hampshire for us to do professional development tasks. So if you think about, for instance, the monies that are being used for Dr. Boothroyd's work with us, it's all Title II funded. There's a number of pieces that are earmarked to do that, and so there's a planning piece in there. I don't have a plan specifically, or that I can tell you specifically around, here's what we're gonna do with the curriculum development revision line as it stated here. As I look at opportunities or possibilities, I think there's a number of things we could do. We're trying to create, or get better leverage and better traction on the unwrapping standards piece. That could be a place for us to do that.
Entirely separate from the summer curriculum.
Right.
I guess,
I mean, the summer curriculum work, I don't know where that line originated from, or how it, what it's.
that's been increasing, because I think you asked to have different groups a couple of summers ago work on different areas of the
We did,
curriculum.
yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
why we see a steady increase in that.
Well,
I
I
guess,
think that number's been consistent though, that 4,000, but I could be wrong.
I just wanna know that this $3,000, it's not stipends, because I know several times you came to us and we approved stipends, but I thought they were just for that year, or they were gonna be grant funded.
Sure.
I personally don't wanna see that we're adding
So-
all these stipends and it's a permanent part of our
Yeah.
budget.
Yeah,
So
so
if
for
it is,
instance,
it
what we
should
could
say
have
that.
done, just giving an example, with Dr. Boothroyd, is we could have front-loaded her fee
Right.
with this line first, and then used the because it would not have covered her full fee for the, I don't know how, I think it's 12 sessions, so she's doing 11 sessions or something like that. 2 of those are full-day trainings, the others, she's here for a full day working in 90-minute sessions with grade levels. And we could have used that $3,000 and then looked at Title II money for what remained for consultation. So, or we could look at this money, as I said. The other part of this is really new initiatives versus strengthening existing programs or refreshing on practices or programs we already in place. Like Math and Focus is probably a good example of that, where it was put in place sort of wholesale K-8 3 or 4 years ago. We've lived with it for a number of years. There was a training initially through Mahesh Sharma, I think, that helped teachers implement. We could use a refresh, whether it be Mahesh Sharma or someone else. We could use a refresh on Math and Focus. But here's one of the constraints that I have, just being honest with you. For instance, so I bring Mahesh Sharma in, or whomever, let's just say, for Math and Focus. When is he good? We don't have built-in early release days. We don't have extra days built in for professional development into our calendar. So I'm just saying, there's no doubt that we have pieces around professional development and improvement of instruction or curriculum development that we could use these monies for. That I could think of right on the spot that we could utilize. One of the practical questions is around time and how we figure out when that's going to happen without impacting teachers in the classrooms any further than we are. But
Are you talking about stipends? Are you talking about giving people money to attend these things? That's what
not
I'm-
necessarily. I'm just saying. I mean, if I paid XYZ consultant, let's say, to come in and do a math refresh with us, just recognize that I could give up a staff meeting, and that's about an hour. I mean, that's really not probably enough time in one shot for a K-8 staff to get a full training. The January 3rd day is already spoken for, with Kim's work with us coming in with some agenda already set for that day. So all I'm trying to say is there's practical constraints. I definitely appreciate and absolutely respect the board saying, the monies are here, what do we need them for? And so that's, I completely understand that piece. So
it's money
like I said,
used-
if
I'm
we
still not
were,
clear what it's used for.
It's for staff training and curriculum development, but it's to bring people in, but not to pay staff to attend.
no.
I think that
I just wanna make sure
certainly
that
could.
that's clear, and that,
I think that ultimately that may be a piece of it too. I mean, I think Scott touches on the fact that we have a certain amount of time that teachers are contractually obligated to be here. And whether you want to call it a stipend, professional compensation, an hourly pay for hourly work, whatever you want to call it, it's not uncommon in any budget that I've ever seen, putting in a number for both bringing professional development into your building, bringing professionals for consultants coming into your building and providing that, but you still have to have the time with staff. Professional consultant coming in is meaningless if your staff is either in the classroom teaching at that particular time with students and doesn't have the time either after school, during weekends, Saturdays, during the summertime. So it's not uncommon at all to have in budgets giving teachers $25, $30 an hour or $100 a day for a stipend or whatever it is for professional work for them to do. Now, a lot of schools are doing that during the summer time. I mean, we've had whole groups of teachers in other districts for long periods of time that far exceeded the $3,000 and the $4,000 you've got here. But you need to have a sum of money in there, or else you're basically not getting professional consultants in, and you're not having staff available to do the work that's necessary. You don't have a curriculum director in this particular district, so that work needs to be done somehow, sometime, somewhere, and it needs to be compensated for. Now, I know that throughout this year, Scott has utilized the rural education grant quite heavily, and we're fortunate in that, I hope that continues, because that's a really nice grant to utilize for that. But, I think the $3,000 and the $4,000 here are short money to try to get things done.
Do the teachers have professional days built into their contract? So you get to take a professional day, like if you want to go visit another school, you're getting paid for that. How many professional days do they have? Yeah. I mean, I think the last time we had Mahesh here, he went into classrooms and people went like in planning periods, and they went and they watched him work with kids, and they worked out some type of, and then they had used them for staff development days.
Yeah, 3 days.
3 days, okay, so teachers have 3 days professional development days. So you could actually choose to take those to have someone in-house.
Good. Yeah,
I think that just asking teachers will use their.
professional days here, yeah. Mhm.
I used to go visit other schools and
Yeah,
do that.
which and we've had some teachers do that. It's, like I said, I think that it's a great question, and I think that,
Well, we have to be able to explain our budget to the townspeople when they ask.
right, yeah.
And, I mean, honestly, if I tell them that, okay, so we have teachers who are salaried employees, but we pay them like they're hourly, because if they work after 30 minutes after the last bus leaves, we have to give them $25 an hour to stay here for a meeting that's actually professional development. That's not a salaried employee.
It is under your CBA.
Well, not really. Our CBA doesn't state when they get paid, it says the hours they're supposed to be at the school. But that also doesn't mean that if we ask them to stay, professionally, I would like to think that if they needed to stay versus, and there's actually in there, with enough notification and a reasonable amount of after-school meetings, they will attend. That's in the CBA, and I don't think we use that line enough, and it does bother me, and I know I hear it all the time, that they're hourly wage workers. They get their salary paid for their teaching time, and it's there's 3% of this population is educators. 90% of the population of this country doesn't understand this, and that's the struggle we have. So again, when it's in a line item budget, I got to be able to say, okay, if somebody stands up at the meeting and says, "What's that $3,000?" I don't want to say, well, if we ask a teacher to stay after school, we give them $50 an hour for professional development. I mean, that's just a tough sell.
So if you.
I understand that. What I'm trying to say though is that if I don't use, So that $3,000 we're talking about isn't used for stipending the teachers in any way for after hours, after contract hours work.
Okay.
I gotta find time. The person coming in to offer the professional development obviously can only do so with a teacher in front of them. So that time's gotta come somewhere. So whether or not a common planning time and so on is sufficient for every teacher to do that, it depends on what the purpose in how, the scope of the work that we're doing with that money. But all I'm saying is that, I'm just saying, recognize that somewhere there's a trade-off, because the next thing you might hear is, why aren't those teachers in the classroom?
Right, so there's the, exactly.
Why are they always, you know, with,
Professionally developing and not teaching,
well,
right.
so I feel like I'm darned if I do and darned if I don't, I
So
guess.
just understand in the
you know,
CBA, there are tools for administrators to use with enough notification and reasonable amount. You can say, hey, look, at next Thursday, we need people to stay until 5. That's in the contract. So,
Which,
I mean,
yeah,
and
which we
so-
do, at least, you know, for staff faculty meetings every month.
Okay, good,
Yeah, till-
you know, I'm glad to hear. So
But-
it's that management of people that we just, there's ways to do it, and okay. We gotta think of an easier answer to that in case anybody else is distributing. Okay, we've beat that enough.
Mr. Chairman,
Sir,
go back to the $26,000 of workshop fees. Was voted on at 20, however, after reading the CBA, in Article 13, letter F, funds needed to implement this contract must be voted by the district at its meeting. Does that mean that we have to vote the 26 that's in this CBA into it, or does that mean that the budget has to be passed by the voters in the spring?
I think the budget has to be passed. This does not change the contractual agreement. So the contractual agreement says $26,000, or up to $26,000. So no matter what you put in here,
we are still
and no
on.
matter what is voted by the voters for your budget, doesn't change that contractual agreement.
So we would have to carve something out to accommodate.
Yeah, I mean, the only place that you're not covering that contractual agreement, if you say, I've got 0 in this line, I'm not doing it. That's going against the contractual agreement. But if as a board, you decide that, you know, you're cutting it to 20 and you need to find $6,000 someplace else, that's your problem. You still need to cover the.
Just want to make sure we're not out of compliance.
And on that line, Marjorie, can I ask to clarify the note since we changed the amount? Can the note state that the CBA requirement is 26,000? So we're only putting 20 in, but I just want to maintain for future boards that the obligation is 26,000. Anything else on page 15? Getting there. 16. And a lot of this we've already gone over. $17.
Bruce, you weren't there for that SAU budget meeting.
No, I was not.
I'm just gonna let you know why there's an increase.
That's fine.
It was,
I read the minutes.
okay, cost of living and health insurance and benefits, that was it.
Thank you.
Anything on 17? You can see we are proposing adding attorney and legal fees. And we have used the attorneys more over the past 3 years due to CBA negotiations.
Yeah, there was a good deal from them in the bills.
Yeah. 18?
So the secretary's salary, that increase is due not only
Added days plus
added days,
5%.
plus there's 3%.
Excuse me.
Does that reflect that? Thank you. Should we write something about that in the minute, in the notes there, just, that would apply just for this year, that the How many days
We
did
can,
it say?
we can explain that.
Increase number of days.
It says in the.
It says at the bottom, includes an additional
Oh, it's not, it's
7 days.
separated, okay, I'm sorry, it wasn't
It's
in the
got a
paragraph.
space.
Okay. Thank you.
Nineteen,
Retirement costs so crazy.
Retirement is based on the legislature taking the money from the state and putting it back on the district.
and losing
Yeah,
it.
it's just keeps going up.
So on page 20, since we've changed the head custodian's rate, that will change, correct?
Correct.
And I'm also seeing the other custodian salaries have increased, or no, they've decreased, but from the last, budget that we were presented, the decrease has gone down, so I'm assuming that includes 3% raise too for everybody?
Yes,
So did that go down because of the change of hours?
so there was a lot that was going
There was a
on.
lot, there was a lot of
in that
moving parts in
line.
that.
Yeah,
Right, okay.
so moving parts plus 3%
Plus three, got it.
on
Yeah.
everybody.
Okay.
Because just, at the last meeting, we had a savings of $8,700, just for people to know. That's what the difference is, because the 3% was added.
3%. I had nothing else all the way to the end. Well, I guess for the warrants, we need to decide whether we're gonna ask for the monies for the two reserve funds, correct?
I've got something on 22.
Sure.
Page 22, you've got your oil and propane bids on there.
So that'll change.
If I do the math out, it will change the propane and the fuel oil approximately $2,000 to $3,000. Do you want me to leave those numbers, plus, you want me to leave those numbers as they are, and just change, we've got a buffer in each one, just change the buffer to, and the note, or do you want me to change it down? I mean, it adjusted about $3,000 with the,
But it's based on an amount of gallons that we.
Correct.
The bid was based on gallons.
Correct.
Keep the
If
math
we
right.
use more gallons than anticipated,
Great.
well, that's why we put the buffer in each one of those, so if we go over, we've got some money to,
we can always give it back again.
Right.
okay, so we'll,
Last year, we had a nice mild winter, this year.
right. So we'll leave the 13,000 in propane and the 35 in fuel oil, and we'll just adjust the note accordingly.
Yeah, okay, so the fuel oil note is wrong.
Yeah, both of those are.
Well, the 13 matches the column, the other one says 18.
Oh, yeah.
A little bit off of 35. Okay.
Yeah, you're right.
Thanks, Brian. So on page 24, the last meeting, we had the totals of the two funds.
Oh, I have another question.
Which page?
Page 23. I just want to check, I know I asked this the last time, but the athletic transportation, I just wanted to make sure we're doing that accurately because, you know, we have the more teams and usually transportation costs go up every year, and I don't see it going up because usually they give us like what do they go up, like 5%, 3% every year for transportation?
3.25, if you look at the other two.
Marge and I talked about that line, I've never entered that line.
Okay.
So, I'm assuming that it comes from a formula. I mean, the one thing, it does appear to be more or less in line with the actuals from the previous year. I mean, it's 37
But-
versus 36, but,
But they charge us, they increase every year. We've never had a year that we haven't had an increase with Dale.
Do you want to bump the number up?
No, I don't know what the increase is. Is it 3.5%? 3.25
3.25 is for the
is that,
two.
because their gas prices go up usually, and they always give us an increase.
The athletic
I mean, if your
transport-
actuals are 3743 for 1560, I mean, we could put it at 4,000.
I mean, the only thing I could do is ask Scott to touch base with his athletic department, let me know how many trips they plan on making and multiply that by the,
It might be a different rate.
but, right, so it would be a different rate. But my thing was, I wasn't too concerned about changing it because we've been
Right there.
in line with it.
All right, as long as, that's fine, I just have never seen transportation to not go up. It usually always goes up every year.
Page 24. Again, the two transfers to capital reserve and the dedicated person with disabilities. So does this show that we're not proposing on, I know it'll have to be voted in, but it doesn't. so
It has to
this-
be voted
this
in,
is
and
zero.
until it's voted in, it won't show up here.
Sure, okay.
So until
And we
then,
can,
and then.
we can decide whether or not we even want to ask for those warrants, correct?
Yep.
Based on the amount of money that's in the two funds, which you gave us last time, and
Actually, they're in here too.
They're in the warrant articles. It should be.
43, page 43.
And, who's finishing the budget?
oh, okay, so currently, capital reserve has 294,000. And person with disabilities has 176,000. I don't think we have to make that decision tonight, but, so just something to ponder as to whether we even want to ask to put 25 in each of those accounts. That's $50,000 we're going to do.
I would in the disabilities one, because one child could wipe that out.
Yeah, you're right. Maybe split it. That's still the town, and we can do that when we go through one article. Okay.
I just also wanted to mention that I noticed that the cost of living increase was also included in the food service director, and I'm assuming the food service workers.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody,
If you go
okay.
through.
So every single person.
So I kind of went through, when I got the budget, and it's about a $12,000 increase if you add up all of the 3% throughout. Um, So I guess this is a good time to discuss what people think about a percentage increase on those specific.
Right.
So it was all through, I had circled them. That actually might change a little bit because the custodian will drop.
That, I mean, that is one thing, since we did this, do the big increase for, this is for Gary, the 10% increase, I think to add another 3%.
No, I think we already talked that that's gonna remain, he's gonna flatline at that 10% that we agreed to.
Okay, I
That
want
will
to
be
make sure that that was
substituted in.
clear.
Yeah.
Okay.
That'll be substituted in.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what we had said.
Okay.
So we have, so you had started that, and I kind of put you on hold back in the beginning, Deb, about, I know the other two SEUs have done it, and the other two districts have done it, the SEU did. I believe the other two did 3%, is that correct? We don't have to flatten, we don't have to go flat either. I mean, there's a wide range of salaries there. Does the board have an opinion on how you would like to proceed?
Just to give you an idea, we got our social security reports today,
Point what?
0. It's 0.0.0. And Medicare went up $80. So, my opinion,
Oh, I know
my opinion is not good.
the military on the budget right now is 2.1.
That's good.
It's the highest increase in 6 years, proposed, it's not passed yet.
'Cause I'm not a-
I think the index is 0.8.
This is
And like I said, I think it's a ballpark $12,000 cost. That was, if we go, because it's actually come down a little bit because we'll take out the monthly Gary due to his other change.
look at, okay, here's, I guess, I don't know if evaluations have been done for everybody, for not just professional, but if you guys have done, you do evaluations for your non-professional
Yep.
staff?
Yep.
I mean, that would be a good thing to hear about, to help us decide about this increase.
I mean, I think in general, the evaluations have been very positive for the, our administrative assistant group. They do great work consistently. Same for Mr. Heselton in his role. Similarly for Mr. Bono as the technology director and also for our food service director as well. So those evaluations, again, in general have been positive. Everybody has hopefully things they can grow in. Nobody's doing the job perfectly. But on the whole, very strong evaluations each of the last 2 years.
So do you evaluate the technology director? Do you do the actual evaluations?
We,
Or is he an administrator equal, I mean, I don't know how that works.
Yeah,
The
he's part of our-
technology
The building administration does all of the other staff.
director. Okay, because he's sort of considered administration too, isn't he, under like the administrative?
but yeah, I guess in a sense, he's a part of our, I don't know what the right term is, administrative team in a sense. So we have a director of facilities, a facility director, and we have a technology director.
But you've basically got two people in the building doing evaluations. You've got your principal and assistant principal, and then you've got Gary who does, some feedback on his custodial staff.
So again, this doesn't have to be flatlined.
So I'm assuming, Bob, that you brought forward the other 3% increases because you've done evaluations?
This is preparation for the budget as a marker for next year. Now, this, in all of the budgets that I've done, it's contingent on end-of-year evaluations. We've got evaluations going on throughout the year. And for your building administration, I do the building administration, and those aren't completed yet. We're not through the end of the year yet. So this is a marker of 3%. It doesn't mean that each individual is going to get that. And that's the same in all the other budgets.
So by putting 3%, and now is that the same for admin to their staff?
Yes.
So
Yes, so if you put this in the budget, it is in the budget as an up to 3%, and then it's up to the appropriate people to do the evaluations and then make a recommendation for a contract, and at the end of the year, all of the contracts will come forward with a recommendation to the school board for next year. And that's basically how it's always been done.
I think in past practice, it's been, well, the board approved the 3%, they
And
have
everybody
accepted
gets the
3%.
3%,
That,
yes.
that hasn't been past practice throughout.
I know in the
All three
SAU it
districts.
hasn't been. Okay, and I know in the SAU it hasn't been. Okay, so this is an up to, and the board still has to approve these amounts come end of evaluation period.
Yeah, you have to approve the next contract.
Okay.
And my number's actually gonna be a little bit off because I only added up the total changes, I didn't add in all the FICA changes, everything else, so I'll half that again. But I'll bet if we went 3% all the way across, it's close to $15,000.
Sure,
Come on.
sounds good.
I'm looking at this
You said ballpark, right?
I said
It's on
ballpark.
the tape.
Yeah.
That's on the tape, Marjorie's not in there. Don't type that. So, it's an up to amount, it's not a guarantee, and we have another look at it in the spring, post-evaluation, we can ask, we'll be able to talk to Dr. Jadomski about the administrators, we'll be able to talk to the administrators about their staff. So that's the process that should go through.
So if you follow that process, Scott, with other people, like not giving them the rate that we've increased, if you felt they only needed 2% instead of 3%?
Well, I think if those evaluations indicated deficiencies,
Mhm.
then it makes sense to me that whether or not, what is the top of that, up to 3% would be warranted at that point. So,
Mhm.
I actually like that because it
I
was.
like that better too, actually.
Well, I'm just glad it's clarified now, that it's been there, but it's clarified, because we can ask questions in the spring,
Mhm.
once evaluation's completed, see how it goes, and that's standard anywhere.
I will say, in all of my districts, we have had people, I mean, ideally, what you would like to see at the end of the year, obviously, is everybody getting 3%, because that means they're doing a fantastic job.
Right.
But we've had people held to 2%, we've had people with no percent, and improvement plans, and we've had people that we've recommended dismissal in the districts I've had, so, you know, it's, like I said, ideally, you want people that are doing a fantastic job across the board, but, when that doesn't happen, then that's when you draw the hard line.
Okay. So the board okay with the budget as is right now? We don't have to vote, we don't need to vote on it tonight. Any further questions with the budgets? Thanks, I know that's tedious, but it's well needed.
Couldn't reach it anyway.
So we'll discuss the warrant stuff, or.
So just the warrant articles, these are the only two I've, or I should say four, but, I mean, Article 2 is the budget, obviously. Is there anything else that the board wants to see me put in there for warrant articles? Or do, at this time, and you don't need to make a final decision, but if there's any that you know that you want out, let me know and I'll take that out too. If you wanna just let it ride the way it is, then that's certainly okay until you get to the, I mean, you gotta finalize it at some point, but that's not necessary to finalize it tonight.
The capital reserve is almost $300,000.
I would be okay with not asking for that. But I haven't, I don't know. It's like the year that this room flooded, what did that end up hitting the school board for? You guys remember? Was it?
We had some paid by insurance.
Yeah, should have been
Yeah.
insurance, should cover that.
And you had a good chunk for the front renovation paid out of the, what's that, the original bond?
Yeah.
Well, we
72.
sort of did
Yeah.
that.
I'm just thinking, how catastrophic would it, we have to have
You
something.
have to realize that the two water systems, septic may be getting old. That is under the parking lot. But that would mean digging up the parking lot, changing the septic system, repaving the parking lot. That'll eat up every bit of this money, if not more. I don't know, I mean, that's, they don't last forever, with the amount of kids that we have in here. And that well system is always questionable. Is that right, Scott?
yeah, well,
We replaced the pump last,
Excuse me?
did we replace the pump last
we
year?
did last year, yeah.
Yeah.
And I know that on this much shorter side, but I just talked to Karen today, that we have, we have a day tank for oil for our heating, and it's no longer, it's been there since 1959. So we had a recent inspection recently, either this week or
Which
the-
tank is this?
It's in the furnace closet over here. It's been there since, it basically brings, it's a holding tank for the oil, then it distributes the oil back down to the furnace as it calls for it, or as it needs. But that is no longer within regulation, so it has to be taken out, and we have to run everything straight to the
From outside.
furnaces. What's that?
From outside, from the
Right.
tanks outside, like
Right.
a house.
Oh, they don't want storage of fuels in the building.
Exactly, they don't want an oil leak that we wouldn't be able to
Yeah.
find or know about unless someone happened to go into the
Yeah.
furnace area to see it. So again, that's
Might be
just
good,
one.
yeah. That's small, yeah.
Well, it's a small
Okay.
coin, but it's just to Bruce's point of, that we do have some things that are antiquated. I mean,
This
it
money
lasted.
would be absorbed very quickly if we
Okay, so
have
Okay,
one of our systems go down.
okay.
it sounds to me like those warrants are fine. and we don't need
Okay, I'll leave them in
anything
there.
else.
Those are yours. Good, good, good.
Yeah.
In addition to the dam,
Yeah, the DM,
Okay.
dam.
yeah.
Yeah, we'll adjust
Where I am
those.
on my agenda.
We'll adjust those.
Mhm.
Draft
Maybe
warrant
Marjorie
was-
for
I
anything
haven't been
else?
down
On the
before.
warrant,
No,
are you gonna talk about the?
but I'll take a look at that.
Oh, yeah, we have to change the date to the
Yeah.
meeting.
Yeah, we'll adjust that.
Ms. Patrick, do you have any questions on paperwork before Marjorie?
He
Yes.
does, and he already asked me, and I don't have an answer for it, so I'm hoping Scott does.
Scott, we have a note from Charlene requesting a check for an employee on a fingerprinting. The employee checked off that they were, or the person checked off they were a volunteer, not an employee. So I'm trying to, it is Lauren Frazier, employee.
She's an employee here, so she's,
Is there a student with that last name who is parent volunteering? That's what I was thinking.
no, does that ring a bell
I
for you?
think we
Ms.
need to
Ramos?
look into this then, because Charlene, she wants a check for employee, which would have been $47. The volunteer is $20.75. Just wanna make sure they get the correct amount. So, Marjorie, that's your.
Substitute?
Yep.
Okay. The second one was the credit card late fee taken care of.
Last one, but I'm not sure.
Oh, you do? Okay. You
I'd
might.
have to check with, I could check with him with her. We've got been fingerprints to drive with us on field trips.
That would still be a volunteer.
But it would be a higher level fingerprinting. There are different forms that Charlene has told me about.
What's that?
So.
A higher level of
A more in-depth
Right,
background check?
Yes.
Yes, it requires more, but it's actually saving the school money.
Looking over at Dr. Yadomsky for some kind of.
Gosh, Bruce, I don't do the fingerprints.
Yeah,
so
all right, yeah.
I would.
No, I know you don't do the fingerprinting.
Yeah, I'd have
Will you
to,
look into it?
yeah.
The second one is the Amazon account for a $35 late fee. I mean, these are small potatoes to the budget we're just looking at, but every penny counts. So we were charged a late fee, and then last month we had a refund now from late fees. I don't understand what's happening with the account, it's not being paid on time. You don't know the answer to that one either?
I don't know the
Oh,
answer
okay.
to that one, Bruce.
Okay.
Typically, we don't include late fees because Charlene does do due diligence and calls them up and gets rid of them. And I
Good.
can't remember if the Strafford one is actually under the SAU, because typically what happens is, some of the schools have their own Amazon account, and then other times they don't, so they come under the SAU, so then we pay them from the school, even though it's on the SAU,
Sure.
so.
And I'll look into that one too.
Okay.
Thank you. And this third one is for travel to Citizens Bank by an employee here that does travel from the school, but there's also a note saying that they travel from their residence on weekends. Is that a higher amount of distance from, on the weekend?
From
Then
what
why
I,
are they making deposits on weekends?
from what I understand is that they couldn't do it during the day because there was no administration here.
Right,
So by the time that they left here that day,
yeah.
that bank had already closed.
I would rather have the money, this is personal, I would rather have the money sitting in the Strafford school safe than going to someone's house and staying overnight and being deposited the next day.
Okay.
What do you think about that?
Well,
So, I mean, I would, if they're waiting over Friday night for the weekend, we want to deposit the money. I'd rather have it sitting on a safe where it's secure and
do they
not
have access to
traveling
the
to
state?
someone's home and then to a bank.
I'm not sure that would pass the audit
Plus,
check.
we
I don't think it would pass the audit.
Well, we
exactly.
also asked to have things like that come monthly, and this
You know,
dates back till July.
Yeah, there's
I-
a few
Yeah,
travel
I've
things
adjusted
on
that,
this sheet
yeah.
right here,
Yeah,
if you want. So will you correct this?
yes,
Leon?
yeah.
Just to make sure that we're in compliance. As Jim and Monahan said, they probably would pass the audit.
Yeah,
We don't need taxpayer money going to somebody now. Like I said, even if it's small money, that's.
Exactly,
Yeah.
It looks like it's weekly here,
yeah,
probably gonna need to.
but still, you know,
9/12.
yeah,
9/12.
yeah.
Right, that's bad practice. That's how we end up in the.
Looks like we went to the bank twice in one day on the 9th. That could have been a little more streamlined. Okay. So what we do, we can do these amounts on the
Can we subtract them from the manifest?
I have no problem with that.
Okay.
Well, the travel one is probably already done, but I won't subtract that one. I think our practice of travel to the bank has to be corrected with internally.
Okay.
So I'll take the other two off. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all I have, Jim.
You still have this transition survey, is that just reference for us to, I looked through it.
Yeah, that was informational. During the Co-Brown meeting, joint board meeting, they handed those out, so I just put them in there as information. Please take some time and look through those. It's
Kinda interesting to see what the students.
interesting
get.
data.
What?
Did you two got a copy of that?
I passed them on to our UA teachers as well as the 8th grade teachers.
Yeah, except,
Yeah.
except there were two people that said they were involved in soccer, basketball, or baseball in their 8th grade year, and I know for a fact there was only one. His name is Tiffany.
Okay. That was the whole thing, right?
They want more.
That whole packet, and actually, yeah,
Yeah.
that came.
Right.
You see how many times I was in there? It's interesting.
I know that wasn't one of mine.
Yeah.
Okay, let's jump to the policies. Well, I read through them, it looked like we had, couldn't remember, is this the first reading?
This is the second reading.
Second one, yes.
Policies were brought forward the first time on October 9th.
And I didn't see,
Oh, I think there was one that, I thought there was something about the video and audio. Bruce, remember you asked a question about that?
The video audio was changed by the legislature this year. This is including changes that were made, that's what my question was.
Right.
Because the video and audio originally was, I think it was for a situation that didn't include teacher observation. And that's why it was changed after that, because originally it was put in as a safety valve by the legislature, and then they realized
They restricted everything.
Yeah, they overdid it. And now they went back this term and changed it a little bit, so I don't know what the exact. So you get the,
Yeah, it was, the situation that they had was it was very tight when they passed it, and they had very good intentions in doing that. And it really put restrictions on your common areas, and the gymnasium. And it basically said you weren't supposed to tape without authorization in some of those areas. And it especially affected some of the schools that have video surveillance throughout the building. So the language had to be tweaked a little bit and readjusted.
so does the new policy reflect that? That's the question. It does?
I
Oh, no,
would-
I
Oh,
said
you
yes,
said-
that
I
was
would
the
ask
question.
Cheryl.
It does.
Carol and Scott have been the policy committee.
Oh, okay.
I believe this was, if I remember hearing correctly, that it brings forward the new language.
When did that pass? When did that come into effect, what you're discussing? 'Cause this,
They passed it in the last session, which ended this fall, so.
well, this was brought forward to us in the beginning of October, so would that have been
It
reflected?
was probably passed before.
Okay.
and we do have the statement that says the school board authorizes the superintendent to use video, blah, blah, according to the extent either required or prohibited by law. So
Mhm.
that pretty much says do what the law says.
Right, right.
So any,
I just have one question on the background investigation and criminal records. Under volunteers,
which one, where are you?
page 69.
Wait,
Let's do it.
Oh, I'm sorry, I think you asked it for any of the policies.
No.
Okay, we're
Let's
still on
stick
that
with-
first one?
let's stick with
Okay.
Policy
EAA.
EAA.
Okay.
Folks are happy with it, want to accept it?
Make a motion to accept policy EEAA. As written.
Second.
I don't like it.
Any further discussion?
And we do a blanket, release anyway in the beginning of the year, right?
It's in the handbook also.
Right, so should, I wonder if we should have that after this. Is that mentioned, I'm sorry, it's getting late. Is that mentioned in here about the release we have people sign? Okay,
Common summer's release.
I mean, I'm just thinking about having kids, being videotaped, and I know we do a release for it.
Because I believe that's required by law.
Okay,
And we have in there, we'll do everything required by law.
okay. All right.
All in favor of accepting policy EA as written? Aye.
Aye.
That passes. Policy EF, food service management. I can clean this one up also.
Make a motion to pass number EF.
Second.
Sorry, Kelly. It's number EF.
Last.
No, they always say
And
so we are.
Hashtag.
hashtag EF.
Oh, hashtag, yeah, I'm sorry, yeah,
That's our
okay.
Twitter friend.
Okay, we can change that to hashtag.
I'm not a Twitter
I
person.
never thought I'd ever say that word
In public.
in public. Yeah.
Any further comment? Everybody in favor of accepting policy hashtag EF?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Policy hashtag GBCD.
I just have a question under volunteers. I thought, because right under the first sentence, it talks about any person for whom the board requires a criminal record check shall pay for all fees and costs associated with fingerprinting. I thought we decided that volunteers didn't have to pay for their own fingerprinting.
Well, that's a good question, Debbie, because the more I do the bills, the more and more volunteers have been getting fingerprinted when they're paying back. I don't know where our budget stands for fingerprinting, as far as how many we do now each year. We do quite a bit, there's some in every single manifest. And I don't, we did with employees or substitutes, we had the policy that they had to sub, was it 3 to 5 times?
Yeah, 5.
5 times, they had something 5 times before they get their money refunded on fingerprinting. Most of them comply with that. It gives them a carrot to keep coming back. And what's the carrot for the volunteer? They volunteer for one afternoon to a trip, we pay them.
I guess that's the, when do we require the fingerprints for the volunteers? Is it somebody who volunteers consistently, or is it, if you go on a class trip, do you have to be fingerprinted? I don't think so, hasn't been in the past, so
No.
is it,
But I
when
think
do we?
that's part of my, without getting too, lost here, but it is what constitutes a volunteer. Because you're right, if we have a parent who is gonna help on a given field trip, because we're going to, we went to the Rochester Opera House today to see
Yeah.
Nutcracker Ballet with kindergarten, we don't say to that parent of Johnny, well, first you need to go get a fingerprint done.
Well, I think
They-
if they're in the building several times a week, then
Right,
they're all.
so I guess if you wanna use a common sense rule around it, as you said, if you have someone who you know is gonna be here on a regular or semi-regular basis because they're working with a reading group, or because they are making photocopies for, whatever the purpose might be that they might be volunteering helping for, then those are probably the people we identify as needing a background check, because they are here more regularly in the building, they have more regular contact with kids.
Spent some time last year.
$2,000 in the budget.
We put 2,000 in the
We
budget.
put
so-
2,000 in, and we have not spent
Okay,
over 1,000.
so that's just under 100 volunteers. So that's plenty of money there.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, just checking.
So,
But it,
getting back to that line though, right underneath the volunteers, it seems as though we're saying that they have to have.
No, it says may.
yeah,
Okay.
maybe section 2,
But then they have to pay for it.
unless otherwise determined.
Okay. I just thought we just said volunteers who we require background checks do not have to pay. I thought we just said that.
Right. Which
we
I think,
require the background check, then they don't have to pay. If they're just here occasionally, they don't have to have a background check. So that's my question, that's that
Spent some
paragraph.
time with Nancy Gecko last year and also Linda Osborne looking into that. And we actually use the RSA 189.59. And the wording in the RSA is very open. It says something to the effect of volunteers that come regularly. And so we go by, are they interacting with students regularly or are they decorating the hallways? And those kinds of things.
Or are they left alone with students without a supervisor?
That generally, that's not the situation.
How do you know that?
Well, that's what our procedures are. Volunteers shouldn't be supervising kids.
There are districts that require background checks for anybody that's volunteering at all, ever. And some districts have gone to, some different methods. I know a few districts that say that if you're volunteering in your child's school, you need to be fingerprinted once. At least that gives you a baseline of, you can come in as a parent of a kindergartner or a first grader, get fingerprinted, and you're pretty much good through
For 8 years.
For 8 years. At least that gives you a baseline. I think that it always makes me a little nervous when we start saying regularly, or, if you have a parent chaperoning a trip once, then they have exposure to kids, they have access, so, might be something to consider for further discussion.
But for right now, it
Yeah,
doesn't look like
yeah, for this paragraph, if we're requiring a volunteer to have a criminal background check or fingerprinting, we have it in our budget, we're paying for that because they're volunteering their time. If we're asking them to get the fingerprinting, we're
It does say
paying for
unless otherwise determined by the board, so it's wide open.
it. Okay.
So it says they may be subject, and if they are, they'll pay for it unless otherwise determined. So if they submit a bill, Mr. Patrick, and we look at it, the board and say, yeah, we'll cover it, the policy covers that.
Do they submit the bill? The volunteer submits the bill?
The SAU submits the bill, because they go to the SAU to get
Correct.
fingerprinted.
Okay.
And Charlene writes on it what they are and sends it
Okay.
back. We just had a little confusion on one, not knowing if it's an employee or a volunteer.
So this policy gives the board all the leeway. We can either determine or not determine that need it, and if they do, we can determine if we pay it or we don't pay it. So it's in the board's hands.
Mr. Chairman, can I interject? Audrey is done with us.
What's that?
Are you done with us financially?
I was actually gonna say, going off of that, technically you're approving to reimburse them because the manifest is being presented to the board. And you're signing it over for us to approve to reimburse them.
No, that was not.
My final say on that.
No, you were saying,
No.
can we kick her out of here?
Yeah,
I know what you were saying, but I was waiting for the manifest for
Can
the
we
eight.
dismiss
Can we get a
it?
signature sheet?
I don't have the signature sheet.
Oh, I'm sorry. I pass it on.
And then before I left, I wanted, so Cheryl couldn't make it this month for your audit, so you guys are the only one getting your bound packets before she comes. So she will be here in January.
Can you hold them so we don't lose them?
I can do that, but I
Yeah.
thought you wanted to, okay.
Is there a cover letter? Is there a management letter at the beginning?
No management letter, but her, the responsibilities of the audit. There's no management letter, again,
Then we
so.
don't need it.
right.
No, I'd rather have them when she's here,
Okay, that's fine.
because she'll look at us and we'll.
I just thought I'd give you guys the opportunity to look through it, possibly
We'll
ask her
yeah.
questions when she
We'll
gets
be a bunch
here.
of students who know homework.
Because at another meeting, they got them before, and they said that they couldn't ask any questions because they just got it.
Oh.
I was trying not to go down that same road.
Any other questions for Marjorie?
I'm still on a policy, I just kind of interject.
Nope, that's fine.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Margie.
So we're up to, do we even have a motion for
No.
GBCD yet?
So I'll make a motion to accept policy #GBCD.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. That's unanimous. One more, right? So this one has a bunch of strikeouts. So this is the one that we took all the narrative out, and we're just leaving the end statement,
Right.
and leaving it in the hands of the Department of Education Special Ed policy.
That's very nice, that policy.
I like that. So is all that strikeout gonna be taken out?
Yes. I'll make motion to accept policy, hashtag IHBAA
Second, with changes,
with, yes,
with all the changes.
with all changes.
Are we gonna make a motion to accept the
Any-
last paragraph?
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
That one's unanimous also. Joe, it's policy
We
hashtag
have one more.
Yep. Hashtag Gilbert.
Who's she?
Just somebody who wants a motion made. So this is the, yeah, we don't give anything to a student that the parents or guardians get to review first.
I move we accept policy hashtag ILBA.
Second. I like that. I like the words.
Should be. Comments, questions? All in favor?
Wait a minute, I do have a question. Did we pass ILD? Because this is distinguishable, it's separate, distinguishable from policy ILD, it says.
Well, that's the educational question, is this is non-educational questionnaires.
Right.
Carol, where does that stand on the policy list?
This one's not even on the option of my process. I'm not sure which one it's on. We've met a couple times since then, but I didn't bring that one.
I don't remember doing that one.
We could put that on the list for the policy committee.
Yeah, we'll look at it.
So we do the second one before we do the first one.
Well, this is a standalone. It's separate and distinguishable from the other one, so I think that's just in there so you don't get confused between the two.
I see.
This is- You wanna table this one?
Yes, please.
Okay. And no motion was made, correct? Okay.
Yes, we did
I
make a
withdraw
one,
it.
yes, and I'll withdraw my second.
So if the motions are withdrawn, we will table hashtag ILD. Okay. Prepared. Policies. Still with us, Kelly? Sorry.
Barely.
Okay, so I got a bunch of correspondence. So if you remember, Ben Poirier was here with his dad, the Cub
Yes.
Scout, the Boy Scout that was here. So he and his friend Clayton Price are working on a citizenship in the community merit badge as part of their Scout rank requirements. One of them is to choose an issue that affects youth in the community. Then they have to interview a government official. The issue we have chosen is whether or not full-day kindergarten should be offered at Strafford School. If possible, we would like to meet with a school board member for 20 to 30 minutes and just discuss this as part of the merit badge. So I responded to him and said, hey, I'll bring it to the board and see if somebody would like to volunteer to meet with the guys. I didn't want to jump in and say, yes, I'll do it without asking the board if somebody would like to do it. I have no problem doing it. If somebody else would,
I have to be fingerprinted.
we'll cover the cost.
Let's check the policy.
So if anybody else wants to go sit and, fine, if not, I'll respond to them and say I can meet them at a scout meeting and talk. Okay?
Sounds good.
I did get a couple of emails from Marissa McCutcheon, who was the lead presenter for the kindergarten presentation. Again, they thanked us for allowing them to come the last time, again, these will all be the minutes. And they wondered what progress will be made, so I will be answering her tonight, since this was done in public, based on what our vote was and what we could do. And again, just like last year, I will offer up the help of the board on how to put together a warrant and present it properly.
I think you should offer up the services. Yes.
SAU, yeah, that last time that's what I did, is I pointed, and I told I can't remember who it was last time, that I would answer any question that they needed of the board. After our last meeting, I actually went over to the town hall and talked to Chris Bain, because she defaults to the district clerk if the position isn't filled. So according to RSA 671-33, the school board shall fill vacancies, blah, blah, to serve until the next district election. So she is happy to accept, to be appointed as a district clerk, because all she does is, she will just handle the election polls.
Doesn't the district, clerk does the minutes for the district
No,
meeting?
No, the secretary does, school board secretary. Remember Carol was doing that.
Oh, okay, I thought she did it as
No,
the clerk.
No, no, because she bills hourly at the school board. Because I asked her that.
Okay.
So, she would like to, she's interested, she says if the board would like to appoint her, she will accept it, and she will handle, the election process for us until somebody either volunteers to be elected, or the school board figures it out ourselves.
Did Carol resign as a clerk?
Yes,
Move that Chris Payne
that we appoint.
be appointed until the next election period.
Second.
Any other conversation? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I will notify Chris, and I thanked her for putting her name in. And then, so Carol, this will be up on we'll have the discussion now of the school bus footage. So I did get an email from a member who, she didn't want her email address published. But so we gotta talk this process. So she says, she requested from the school to view footage from a bus her children ride concerning a violent action to one of her children. She was told by school administration that they were unable to retrieve it from the transportation company. She does say it was discussed at a prior school board meeting last year when the equipment was installed that Strafford School was unable to view footage. I don't remember that. I'm requesting that it be mandatory the bus company and/or school complete monthly audits of the system by pulling random footage to view at any time, report, and record the date. Could we get the school and the bus company to figure out how to use this equipment that was purchased to help keep our children safe? So I forwarded this to Carol because Transportation Committee, I really wasn't unsure what they were asking, and so Carol, you found some info on it?
Well, the incident in question, she can't view the footage because it's illegal to show it to her, because it's
Other children involved.
not her child that was misbehaving.
Okay.
She can't, because if it was her child that was misbehaving, then she'd be able to view the footage.
So
That
that's
is my understanding.
that's the legal side of it, correct?
That's the legal side of it.
So based on this, I kind of read that we could, the equipment we purchased wasn't working, so.
Right,
it's working.
so I would say that we're somewhere in the 95% range of knowing when we go to retrieve footage that we'll be able to retrieve said footage. We have had a couple instances, like a couple literally, where we've gone to retrieve footage and to me, it appears that there's something, I would call it a glitch of some kind, because all we get is timestamps, but we don't actually get video footage. So it looks the same each of those couple times that we've tried to retrieve it, ergo we're having a meeting with Dale Transportation, Carol, myself, Ms. Roberts on Friday, to do some problem solving and to look into this. As it turns out, having talked with Dale Transportation today, because in the course of conversation about meeting, that video, they were able to retrieve it at Dale Transportation.
The company was able,
The
okay.
company was able to retrieve it. As it turns out, because of the legal question, it's not something that we would be able to show her.
So that's, yes.
Did
that's-
you view it?
We tried to here in the building.
Okay.
And when we went to the day in question to look at the video, I don't know how to describe it to you so that it makes sense, but that timestamp issue, it looked the same as the last one or two times when we've had an issue retrieving the video, it looked the same here. So I don't know if it's a software issue on our end.
So it might be decoding.
Did they download it for you?
No, I took the hard drive off the bus.
Yeah,
They
okay.
had this thing with the logins and everything, and
It's
what I
a-
wasn't aware of was that Dale had already taken the hard drive off that bus and retrieved the video. So there may have been some kind of,
So they may have a good copy of it.
sounds like they do.
I think they do.
So I took it to Dale, and I talked to Kelly that day, I said, Dale, I can't. She says, we have looked at it before, and it was functional, put it back on the bus, we may have saved it. So,
So what did Dale say about the incident? Did it occur?
I haven't spoken with him since.
Well, they have it and it works.
Right.
Yeah. So will you check on that?
Yeah,
So I guess the big question we're gonna have for the parents is, so this is interesting, so if your child is the target, you can't look at it. It's only if you're.
If-
The administration should be the only ones that look at it.
If the video footage
There's other
was
students on the
used,
bus.
was used to determine a disciplinary action, then the parent of the student whom the behavior is directed at cannot view the video that includes the other child. That's
But it
illegal.
includes every child on the bus unless you put a little circle around it.
Right, right, well, yeah.
So that's why we keep it at the administrator level.
We wrote a policy on
I
this.
know, but I remember we had a
6
long
months, 5
conversation.
months ago,
I know,
remember?
but
That's what it
and,
said.
and even the state guidance was very loose-ended about, okay, so we have this procedure where we can record audio and video, but the parents can't actually use it, so that if administration sees it and disciplines a child, the parent feel they have a right to see why their child is being disciplined, but they can't because, as Mr. Patrick said, all of the other students are involved.
But at the same time, you're right in that at least in my experience, the guidance on that has been blurry. I can think of a former school, when I was at previously, where parents saw bus video footage at times. So the bottom line is
Like it's a penis.
we want to make sure that every time we need to access a video, we can,
Right.
regardless. We want to make sure we can do that.
Right, we're paying for it.
And like I said, so that it's accurate, I'm talking, most of the time, it works like a charm, basically. It works well. But we've had 2 or 3 instances where it hasn't worked for us. And I want to make sure that we are able to fix that, whether it be, I don't know, we have the wrong, they switched out a cartridge and we have the wrong, you know what I mean, the wrong, I'm not sure. I just want to make sure we can figure out so that every time we need to access video, we can do it well, or if there's a software issue on our end that we use when we, I'm not sure exactly what the answer is, but Friday hopefully we'll be able to have a better idea.
So we are paying, I mean, we're paying for this service, so I understand technology, but yeah, it should be cleaned up. And sounds to me like there's no real black and white. There's some guidance we go by, and then if parents or someone decides to dig deeper, there may be legal ways done, but.
I think we need to be very consistent on this. I mean, naturally, parents aren't gonna be pleased if my child is a person that's getting hit on the bus, say. I'm gonna wanna know what's going on, and I'm gonna wanna see the tape. But we need to be very consistent in how we do that, understanding that administration is the one that, you know, if there needs to be some kind of a second opinion on it, then we've got another administrator in the building to look at the tape. I think this is one of those important areas where you're not gonna make everybody happy, but we need to be
Right.
consistent.
I just remember when we reviewed this, or we created this policy 6 months ago, did you show the woman the policy, or the people the policy?
I
We have a
offered
policy,
to
we
meet,
spend
but they
so
never-
much time
Yeah,
on this
that was-
policy.
And that's why, because it's really not a black and white.
No, one of the things we talked about, and I can remember that meeting, and we could probably get Carol, get our minutes for us, is, what?
We have a.
Right, I mean, I'm used to Carol's pulling my eyebrows right now. Is we were concerned, I remember raising the question, well, who else is looking at the video of our kids? So why is Dale pulling the video of our kids? I thought we were just going to be, you guys were gonna be looking at videos that were taken on the bus. That it wasn't going to be Dale looking at the videos, it was going to be just the 2 of you.
I remember that was those concerns, and Bob reminded us that they own the buses that were contracted through them. You know, they're their cameras and they're their hard drives.
But at the same time, that's a good conversation to have with the transportation committee, because that should be consistent too. It shouldn't be anybody and everybody at Dale Transportation looking at the
those
videos.
kids.
So if you can
I
bring
mean,
that into
That's
the conversation on Friday.
Troublesome.
Right, if it's
Okay.
Kelly, I mean, really, Kelly and you two should have the only access to those.
Okay, so if you can put some notes together, we'll brief that.
And then I think the parents should appeal to you if they don't like what's coming from the administration here.
Yeah,
Right. That'd be, yeah, so if they ever came to the board or contacted me, I would automatically protest because they'd talk to the SAU.
And then at that point, you need to view the tape.
right.
Mhm.
No,
No, that-
at
you're
that
right,
point,
that's
I
right.
would review the tape and I would also review your
We
policy,
have a
so,
policy.
I mean, the policy is the policy,
Yeah.
so. We need to be consistent on it, understanding that, we're not gonna make everybody happy.
So the only other correspondence we had is, as you know, after the last meeting, I did sign a early retirement option letter to the SEA. I signed it as the chairman from the board, and Bob was coming over here, so I asked him to deliver it, and he brought it to Audrey Dolan, one of the co-presidents. We did hear about it at a negotiation session, and then a few days after that, Bob received an email from Audrey stating that they had reviewed it with the SEA executive committee. They had some concerns, and they felt like it should be brought up through the negotiation process. So I was a bit frustrated that the SEA had some concerns with a letter from the school board, and they didn't come to the school board and ask us, as I feel that they should professionally do. I also am a bit frustrated that my opinion is that they never released it to anybody, so an entire group of people don't know that the board made an offer of an early retirement plan. And they're choosing to include it in a negotiation process for a contract that begins next July, if it passes, and has nothing to do with the current contract.
That's right.
So we have voiced those opinions, so as far as I know, nobody has contacted us, and it times out tomorrow.
They probably don't even know.
Oh, time's out tomorrow?
Yep.
The offer?
So we made it to December 15th,
And the
so.
whole, the entire, all the members of the SC
I have
don't
no
know
idea,
that?
as far as I know, they don't. I would be more than thrilled if the entire school staff was sitting here to hear this, because I feel personally it's a failure of their organization. But we can't mandate what they do. I did go back to Bob through legal and said, is there anything keeping the board from communicating directly with employees? And yes, there is.
But is there anything that says Bob can go direct to the employee?
Well, the legal opinion that we got back was that.
You're the supervisor.
Yeah, but the legal opinion that we got back was that it's a negotiated piece, a compensation is a negotiated piece of any negotiations, and they're within their right to say, we would rather handle it through negotiations.
So, yeah, I didn't like the answer we got back from legal. It'll, right.
Well, they have one more day.
Part of the legal opinion also stated that they were very surprised that because that it was a benefit to any employee that accepted it, that they weren't going to release it. So just to make sure that we didn't get in any trouble, we did not release it. It's up to them. I just wanted it in the minutes and public record because it was presented in public and they communicated back to us in public, and this retirement benefits offer has absolutely nothing to do with the CBA negotiations that are going on in parallel. So I will do some statements for the committee news calendar, getting all the dates we did together. Any quick committee updates?
I just wanted to hand this out. I wanted to do this several months ago, and I know we need these descriptions. You asked us, the athletic committee, I don't know how long ago, to revamp job descriptions for the coaches and athletic director, and we spent a lot of time doing it. And Scott was nice enough to make copies. All of the things in this packet, we have spent a year working on these things. Some of them, I think the job descriptions probably need to be approved by the board. They were approved by the committee, but if we want to include them in our handbook.
Can we keep this and go through it and talk about it in a future meeting?
Okay.
Yeah, I think
sure.
that might be.
Yeah, it's probably late,
We've
people
been-
are
yeah,
tired.
The only thing I would just point out is, in the back, as Deb was saying around roles and responsibilities, I've given you the current role and
Yes,
responsibility
thank
for
you.
athletic coach, for instance, and then I gave our recommendations. That one happens to be highlighted.
Okay.
Okay.
The other one for athletic director isn't highlighted, but you'll notice it says draft revisions at the top of it. So again, you have the one now for athletic
Right.
director to compare against
Okay.
the draft to see what the differences are.
Okay. Yeah, so
Okay.
board members will please take a look through this, and we'll put on discussion. for the next
Okay.
meeting.
what do you want, should I collect these and we should send them through the email so people don't lose them and Scott doesn't have to can we bring, what should we do
I
with
can
this?
email them out to you if you want
Okay.
an addition.
I just don't want people to lose this packet for next meeting. Do you want it through an
You
email?
can hold mine.
Yeah, I know that what will
Bring it
happen.
back.
It's
We'll-
just like the audit.
We'll review it on email and
Yes.
then we'll.
I'll email it out
Scott
and
will,
then,
will
yeah.
email back and then we can.
We'll have a hard copy to mess with.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
Any other committee?
Just to let you know, I spoke with Bill when I went into the concert, and he said he would be glad to do the moderating.
Okay. I don't think
Body
we have to, do we have to vote on appointing him our moderator?
No, because you have to
Right.
swear him in anyway.
We have to, he has to be, until he's fully elected, he has to be appointed each time.
Right, okay.
So he needs to sign up this year then.
Yes.
It's whenever, he'll have to ask Chris Payne when the election opens. I can't remember how long it was.
But nobody's ever,
They're usually the end of January. You
Yeah.
have to sign up
Okay,
by like
yes.
January 28th or 29th.
Okay, for future meeting dates, we had discussed whether we're gonna have the December 28th one, and we were gonna make that decision tonight. How are people feeling about the budget, where we stand? Based on the dates, the January 11th one, as Dr. Gallanty said, would probably be a finalizing of the budget.
I think we came very close tonight.
I think the budget was good.
Okay, Scrooge.
Christmas is the 25th.
Christmas is all week for us.
Scratch it.
So what do people, I mean, do we need to have a meeting?
If we, I mean, I think, I agree with Bruce, I think the budget looks pretty good. I mean, I know we had a couple little things we had to fix,
Would we have
and
any
then we'll make
issues,
the final,
issues?
probably vote on the amendment.
If we need like payroll or manifest, we certainly could shoot you an email.
Just in the end of the year, end of calendar year close out?
If we do, we can shoot you an email.
Okay,
and get
is
everybody.
the board acceptable to that?
Yes.
Okay, so let's officially cancel the December 28th meeting.
sure that goes in the newsletter.
We're gonna do that night, no? We're gonna do that night.
Yeah, we just
I
gave
don't
you a
know.
couple, just gave you a couple hours now. I know you love meetings.
In the newsletter as well, the
Well, that's the
SAU
SAU.
meeting, the
Let's,
19th.
let's ask them if they can throw that in as a meeting.
Yeah.
When's our budget hearing?
Huh?
When did we say our budget hearing is?
Come on, I'm hooked
Bob
on
is
meetings.
gonna run through the
Give
meeting
us
and
the
back
date.
it up. I believe it's gonna be the first weekend, the first Wednesday, second Wednesday in February.
That's late.
Uh,
I thought we usually had at the end of January, the budget hearing.
Last year, it's bumped between the last week of January and first 2 weeks of February. It's bumped in here before. Anything other from the board? Okay. You who have waited so patiently, do you have any comments in public to the?
So Jessica Grant, Province Road, I was part of the committee that presented back on November 9th for full-day kindergarten. So I was just curious to hear any updates, and I know that Marissa sent a couple emails too, so.
Yeah.
I guess my question now is when would the petition warrant article be due? Do we know that?
If you can call what I'm gonna do, we just set the annual meeting date, and I'll be in touch with the attorney to back up the timeframes. So if you can shoot me an email at my office, as soon as I get that answer, I'll let you know.
And I will send Marissa a note, because she asked what the board response
Right.
was. And again, if there are any questions of the board of how to go through that process, we'll get it done right away.
Is it my understanding that the board will be neutral then? It won't say, if we do a petition article, will it say
That is-
anything about?
That is, no, I don't believe the warrant, we don't have to, so anything the board proposes, we have to take a vote on? If it is not a board warrant, we do not have to take a vote on it. It's the way I understand it right now, and we will look into that.
Yeah, I thought last year that it, even though it was petitioned, that it said that there was not support, but I could be incorrect, I don't know if
It
that
did
was the
say
case.
there was no support.
But I
You're
think
right.
that's because we did vote on it, so we will
I
look
thought
into
we
that.
voted on that. I thought we didn't bring forward that?
Because so far, the board did not vote on whether we support it. We just
Right.
voted on whether we wanted to present it as a warrant article.
Understood.
Okay.
Right.
It
But I-
doesn't, it doesn't mean that board members don't share their opinion that night.
Correct. Correct. Every voter, everybody's allowed to speak.
Right. And it
And it-
sounds like we would have the opportunity to do a presentation.
Yes, yes.
I
So if
would
you're
believe so, and-
organized
yeah.
and have fewer people rather than,
Right, that's
People
what
listening.
you mentioned. Yep. Okay. Thank you.
No, thank you, and thank you for sitting through that.
Nope, no problem.
But budget meetings sometimes are tough.
That's okay.
Anything else from the board? We do have a non-public, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we have
I
two
was out
things.
of the room when you set the date, what's the date for
It's just the 11th?
March 11th,
Yeah,
the March
So-
11th?
Saturday, March 11th.
And what's
Yes.
the town, the 18th?
the town is
Yes.
this following Saturday, so we're gonna go before the town, but we're also gonna go before election.
And
Our
it's-
snow day will be the following Wednesday.
Is it this today's
Okay. 8 AM, Monday.
9 a.m.
the 9th?
And 6 PM on the snow day. if you- I think they're
They may be, that's what you say, 8, 9.
So who's gonna bring the donut?
I was just thinking that in the car.
Okay.
You got it.
I won't have coffee because I don't drink coffee.
Oh,
Snow day, 6 PM?
Yes,
I'll get a box of cereal.
and I'll let this slip through. Oh, crap. Oh, that's, isn't that February?
No, it's 40
No,
days
no, it's
before
right,
Easter,
Easter.
depending on
That's right,
when
it
Easter
moves.
is.
Yeah, just get a snow day.
Easter is the 16th.
All right, go back.
40 days, did you say that?
It's 40 days of Lent.
Well, it's not 40, it's 46 days.
It is 46?
You gotta count weekends, it's more than 40 days.
I pay
Well, it's
attention
40
to
days of
Catholic.
Lent. I went to
Catholic
Catholic
my
school
dog is.
for, I went to Catholic school for like
Yeah.
9 years.
That's what they say, but it's more.
And you missed 6 days?
What could possibly happen in 6 days besides
I believe
building
it's
a world?
140 because of the
You sure?
Wednesday to Saturday, I believe.
And then you have the Friday night
Because on the
fish
seventh day you
for the
got to pay
entire
rest of
time
it,
of
that's
Lent.
right. So in 6 days you built it.
It's-
Okay.
It's the Wednesday.
Anything else? It didn't pop up in my calendar.
That's first.
March first.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
40
We can have them.
Okay, so, can I have a motion?
Motion to go into non-public.
Second.
All in favor? Oh, sorry, Mr. Patrick,
Yes.
Ms. Lloyd,
Yes.
Ms. Henderson?
Yes.
Mr. Finnegan?
Yes.
Myself, yes.
What RSA, what are you?
RSA 91A32C.